Now, your electrifying hosts of Exploring the Bizarre, Timothy Beckley and Tim Swartz.
I really hate being cramped up with you in this ship. And it's starting to smell like swamp gas in here.
Must be that Martian red bean soup again. But hey, we're on a joyride, so what does it matter? We're supposed to be here looking for college students to party with.
Okay, well, now I see some co-eds down there looking out their dorm window. Maybe we could land in that swamp over there and see if they want to hook up with us.
Well, hey, it looks like they're interested. I see them waving their hands back and forth at us.
No, Tim. Look a bit closer. It looks like they're moving their hands and bodies because they're scared to death. You would think that they've never seen a spaceship and a couple of party-going aliens.
Well, that's terrible. Didn't mean to scare the bejesus out of anyone, but all we are is just a pair of wild and crazy Martians out for a good time.
Well, okay. I suggest that we find a different landing spot and go over to the KCOR studios in Las Vegas.
Didn't you say we should look for a safe harbor? Oh, well, this is Ann Arbor. Isn't that close enough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, round of applause.
I hear crickets.
You do, huh? I hear you had a bad. I hear you had a bad storm out there last night.
Oh well, yeah. It's springtime in Indiana. It was fortunate that we didn't have any tornadoes, but we had a thunderstorm roll through with some straight line winds. I think they clocked it at one gust at over 60 miles an hour. So that can get pretty high, and we heard it. We heard it coming too from the distance. I mean, you've heard people describe tornado as sounding like a train. That's what it sounded like, even though, like I said, it was just straight line winds. But we heard that roaring coming towards the house. We were like, we better get down the basement. But no, well, no damage.
I got a somewhat panicky email from Diane Tessman there in Iowa. Mm-hmm. She was wondering what the heck was going on, if it was an earthquake or a sonic boom. She said the house shook, and the snow up on the roof just went all over the place, and the dogs started up, but nothing in the media about it that she could see. But there is such a thing as thunderstorms during snow. I mean, most people don't realize that, but there is, and that kind of freak weather and climate change and all is certainly happening all around us. Of course, there are a lot of things that are happening all around us, but that kind of reminds me of this book that we just finished working on this week, which is a update of a volume we did back in the 1970s and 80s. We put out several editions. This is the new edition of Psychic and UFO Revelations in the 21st Century.
Right.
It's got all it's got all kinds of dozens and dozens and dozens of predictions and channeled messages and the whole ball of wax. It's quite a I guess a memorial, is that the right word, to the whole UFO and contactee movement. It's just fully illustrated with a lot of rare and never before published photographs of some of the better known and lesser known channelers and contactees, especially those from the California desert area out around Giant Rock. And I know you've just finished up a book that probably will be available in a couple of days. That's what, Cosmic Messages from the Ashtar Command?
That's right. The title is Cosmic Messages from the Space Brothers and Ashtar Command. And again, this is channeled material from the late Tuella.
Well,
yeah.
and about, I think it's 20. Advertise it as 28 symposiums from representatives of the Space and Solar Council. Now, I know some people are critical of this type of material, but like Tawella says, for those who believe, you will accept, and for those that don't believe, nothing will ever confirm this for you. So that's not exact words. She was much more eloquent. And anyway, we have been busy, regardless of what's going on all around us, which is, of course, very menacing. I mean, what can you say about it? It's just terrible. I mean, the situation we find ourselves in with this epidemic. But anyway, let us get on with the program tonight, which I'm very excited about, because it's involves a case study that probably is one of the most famous and well known of in the entire history of ufology.
Well, that's right. Well, our guest tonight, and I'm so happy that she's agreed to be on the program with us. I've been on her show a couple of times, so it's great that Barbara DeLong can join us tonight. Now, Barbara is internationally known radio podcast host. She's a spiritual empath, author, artist, lecturer, and ordained minister. Now, she's been working professionally in the spiritual field since the early 1970s, sorry, Barbara, in addition to being a full-time special education teacher and single parent. Now, in the 1980s, she began painting personal mandalas for friends, and since that time, her paintings and life readings that go with them are now worldwide, with over 400 of them in private collections. These individual paintings evolved into a circular oracle card deck called the Cosmic Deck of Intuition. The deck was published in 1991 as a peaceful and more spiritual substitute to the standard tarot deck, with many thousands purchased around the world. Now, in October of 2009, she launched her own radio show, Nightlight, which features spiritual philosophy, questions and answers, and awesome interviews with authors and those in the metaphysical field. The show also offers a platform for planting seeds of spiritual insight, as well as a showcase for featured authors offering insight from a plethora of different modalities. So, Barbara, thank you very much for being with us on Exploring the Bizarre.
Well, it's a pleasure. And, when you were talking about channeling, I channel, and so, I definitely, channeled material is spectacular if it's truly channeled, and when you can find a good channel, my goodness, pay attention to what they say, because it comes from a higher place.
Well, Tim neglected to mention, though, one of the reasons that I'm so excited to talk with you is that you were involved, like I say, in one of the most historic UFO events of all time. You were there in Michigan when the air was full of swamp gas. That's the beginning of our program. Now, I have to ask you. There is a very famous photograph that appeared in one of the papers. I don't know whether it was the Detroit paper or Ann Arbor paper. It shows about 5 or 6 girls, co-eds, standing at the window of their dormitory looking out. Was any of those gals you?
No, and I don't think any of those gals in the picture were actually there either. But
yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, first of all, our dorms were awful. And second of all, they all looked too well dressed, because this happened at almost after 11 o'clock at night. And most of us were not dressed for day. So, no, that picture was probably staged, but very effective. I mean, the hairstyles are certainly for the time frame. But yes, I was there. And it was probably, in a lot of reports of this particular sighting, they say it happened at University of Michigan. It did not. It happened at the University of Eastern Michigan, which was just a couple of miles away from U of M. But I guess U of M sounded better, so they put U of M in there. But
now, is this the Dexter dormitory?
No, I was in King Hall at University of Eastern Michigan, and it was really kind of weird. We had been locked in.
Let's set the stage. What day of the week and what time was it?
Okay, I don't remember what day of the week it was, but it was after 11 o'clock at night, because we had heard on the news, there had been a news flash that a UFO had been spotted around the University of Eastern Michigan, and and that the local airports had all been shut down, and there were 3 of them. And so, we all were going at the windows and looking at the windows and opening the windows. It was chilly out, so I think it may have been March or April, but I'm not really sure.
I think it was March.
Okay.
Yeah, probably March.
So between my dorm and the baseball diamond, there was a large building, and we heard the police cars rushing by, sirens and everything. And, we looked at the windows. We could see all these police cars coming, and it was a little scary. And we could hear their radios because we had the windows open, and we heard one of the radios say, we're going to turn on the stadium lights to see it better. And we could see the glow in the sky as the lights went on. And then I saw this saucer raise up. I saw the saucer raise up, and it swooped over my dorm, and it blacked out the sky. It was that close.
My goodness.
So, I've often said, it's a phrase I say so often people are going to really get sick of it, but if it had a VIN number, I could have seen it. And then it felt like it hovered there, and then it was gone. There was no air displacement. There was no sonic boom. It was just gone. And it was fascinating because, certainly there were a lot of girls, not hanging out the window, but watching. And one of them fainted. One of them ended up in her closet crying and screaming. Others just ran. And then there were those that didn't see it, that were standing right next to me.
My goodness.
And
that's happened quite a bit. We've had a lot of reports like that where a cluster of people would be together looking in the sky, and there would be a definite object of some size or shape, and some of people would not see it at all, and other people would describe it somewhat differently than another part of the group.
Yeah, it was really phenomenal, and I wasn't scared. And so, we all kind of were hanging by the radio because, of course, we were sure, a report of what had happened was going to be on the radio. And when the radio came on for the midnight report, there was nothing, absolutely nothing. No, this is reported or nothing. And, we kind of all looked at each other and we're a little terrified because it seemed very strange. And then we noticed that the campus was being patrolled by police officers with German Shepherds for the whole rest of the night, and they were in pairs. So they really were worried that something was going on, but they didn't know what. And it was very strange because there was nothing in the newspapers the next day that I saw. There may have been reports, but they certainly weren't in the Michigan papers that I saw.
Well, now how long after this, though, did the reports get into the paper that the objects had been seen landing in the swampy area?
First of all, it was a baseball field. It wasn't swampy at all. But J. Allen Hynek did come out and investigate, and he declared everything swamp gas. but if that was swamp gas, it was the most solid swamp gas I've ever seen. And it could fly, and swamp gas just kind of drifts up from the ground. It doesn't.
Yeah, very low level methane type of gas. We see that a lot around the cemeteries too. People get very excited, thinking they're watching a UFO, but they're little flickers of light. Now there are a lot of UFO reports around cemeteries, of course, ancient Indian mounds and burial graves and things like that, and as well as regular cemeteries. But there is a phenomena. I don't know. Has anybody actually seen swamp gas? I'm wondering about that. I mean, you never, outside of this one particular case, you never hear anybody talk about it. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to Google it and find out. But what exactly did the object look like? I don't think he gave us a full detail.
It was a dish. It was a saucer, and it looked huge. And it was, I'm trying to. I'm not really good at gauging distances or anything, but for it to block out the whole sky and for it to have landed on the baseball diamond, it had to be at least 100 feet across.
Oh,
So, and I think what was amazing was how it affected everybody. And there were, it didn't have any lights or portals on it that I saw, but it did have lights glowing from it. It's like the skin was glowing. And I saw red, and I saw yellow, and I saw green lights. So, but
and you think it was intelligently controlled, obviously.
First of all, it was large enough, and at that time, of course, I didn't know what a UFO was, and at this point,
how old would you have been at that point? Like 20?
20, 21. Yeah.
20, yeah. So obviously, though, this had. I mean, here we are today on Exploring the Bizarre, talking about this sighting, and you've had other experiences, and you've written the literature on various other subjects and things like that. So obviously, and you mentioned earlier that you are a channel. So obviously, this must have had some impact on you. I mean, do you think that it did? Did this lead to all the things that have happened since in your life?
I would say absolutely, and I think I sort of I was always sensitive. I was always interested in telepathy and all of that stuff. But I would think it feels like that was the one place where I can say that consciousness changed. And when I saw it, it was sort of like we're not alone, and there's more out there, and there's more to this world and universe than I have ever known. And it opened that doorway, that portal inside of me. I think when people see UFOs or have a metaphysical experience, that there is a level of consciousness, and that has nothing to do with intellect. It's a level of consciousness that you are using within you at this moment in time in your evolution that will either accept or reject it. And if it rejects it, you don't see it, and if it accepts it, you go, "Whoa, look at that!" So,
well, now, how long after? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but how long after this incident did you start to channel, and what was the circumstances?
Well, I wouldn't say I started channeling right away. I would say that it put me on a pathway of wanting to learn about intuition, of spirituality, and all sorts of stuff like that. So that I went from one moment thinking, okay, I graduate school, I teach school, I teach school, I get married, I have children, and I'm a housewife. And after that experience, it changed completely about what I wanted to do with my life. And while I did teach and I got married and I had a child, there was always something else there. There was always saying, there was always that voice in my head saying, there's something more, keep looking. And it was probably, let's see, that was in the 60s. It was probably in the 70s that I started a class. I was involved in a class for spiritual development, and that's where the channeling started. And that was amazing because it was sort of like, we had homework assignments, and they were on topics that were, spiritually oriented, like the seasons of my soul or the rainbow of my existence or the portal to who knows where. And
yes.
and I found that I would sit and think real hard on, how to write this and what do I want to say and how do I want to say it. And I usually, had pages and pages of notes, and then I would usually just say, oh, screw this. I just don't know where I'm going with it. And I would start writing. But writing without thinking, writing without truly focusing on what I was saying, but more or less letting it come through me. And then I realized, well, this is a heck of a lot easier. and so that's where the channeling began. And
well, who were you channeling exactly?
Okay, this is a great question. I channel the spirit that's within me, that is eternal and that has traveled through time. Lots of people say they channel and believe they channel, and I believe they believe it, that they channel Archangel Michael or Jesus, yes, or
Mother Mary.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, at this point in time, our consciousness is geared to accept certain things. And depending on where our consciousness is, sometimes we need to have information come from an outside source because we won't trust what comes from inside. So at that point, the spirit within gives us a holographic perception that there is another entity there, but in reality it isn't. It's a holographic expression that's come from within, but I believe personally that most channelers truly do channel from their higher consciousness, which is the spirit that is ageless and can draw material from any point in time or any wisdom that has been or is going to be out there.
All right, I need to interrupt you here because we are coming to our bottom of the hour break. So when we come back, we will continue our conversation with Barbara DeLong on Exploring the Bizarre.
Now back to Exploring the Bizarre with two of the most electrifying researchers in the paranormal, your hosts, Timothy Beckley and Tim Swartz.
And welcome back to Exploring the Bizarre. I'm Tim Swartz. Tonight, our guest is Barbara DeLong, and I highly recommend that you tune in to Barbara's show, Nightlight. And Barbara, where can people find your show?
It's on Blog Talk Radio, but if you go to my website, barbaradelong.com, there's a link right there to the radio show.
All right, fantastic, and I know it's an excellent show, and you've got some great and wonderful guests.
Yes, I
do. Well, now going back to your sighting, afterwards, and I mean not just the sighting there on. At the college, but just the general collection of sightings that were being seen all over Michigan. You had J. Allen Hynek come in who at that time he was working for the Air Force, and basically it was his job to come in and debunk sightings, and I know because I knew Jay Allen before he passed away, and he admitted that it was to his embarrassment that he had to proclaim that what everybody was saying could have been swamp gas. He told me, he said he wasn't saying it was swamp gas. He was just putting that out there as an explanation. But now, when you found out about that later, I mean, how did that make you feel? Because you and your friends, I mean, you definitely saw something, only to have the so-called expert declare that what you saw. I mean, even though he was impressed by the stories that you all told him, but he dismissed it as, it's just something more mundane than actual physical unknown object flying overhead.
Well, yeah, and there was the inference that here we're hormonal women. We obviously didn't know what we were talking about. But it's fascinating because for the most part, at that time in my life, if I said I saw something and they said, no, you didn't, I would have said, well, maybe I'm wrong. But it's one of the few times that I continued to talk about it, even though people would look at me like I was crazy. When I started teaching in Michigan, somebody did pull me aside and say, you should not talk about that UFO crap because they'll think you're crazy and you could get fired. And that was very true. So, but it's something that, while I didn't broadcast, if somebody asked me, I absolutely said, yes, I've seen one, and I do believe in them. It's something that it touches you in such a different way, so that it's almost like a switch is turned on inside of you, or a portal is opened up, or I don't know exactly how to explain it. It's something that you could probably have denied me my caffeine or whatever, and I still would have said no. It really, I saw it. It was there, and some of the girls standing next to me would say, I didn't see anything. So it's a matter of it's something you believe in, and I think the reason that I hung on so tightly to it was because it opened a doorway for me to explore so much else that was out there that I never would have gotten involved in had it not been for that experience.
Now, the girls, you said they were standing next to you that said that they didn't see anything. Do you think that they were being honest, or they were trying to protect themselves and not protect themselves from the jeers that would come afterwards, but just there are a lot of people who, when they see something that is outside of their realm of knowledge, so to speak, that they just simply refuse to believe what their eyes are seeing, and just like, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I think that they genuinely believed they didn't see something, but at some point in time, here we are 50 years and more afterwards, that they probably now would say, yeah, I did see something. But at the time, I don't think they were lying. I don't think they were hiding anything. I truly think that their consciousness would not allow them to see something they could not cope with.
Have you talked to any of the girls since then or in recent years?
You're talking, let's see, this is the 60s. No, I haven't. I mean, you lose touch after a while.
Oh yeah. Well, and well as well now, after your sighting, I mean, you felt that this was rather a game changer for you, though it may have taken a while for that realization to work its way into you. Did anybody else among that group say anything to you that along the same lines, like, wow, this is something that I never expected in my life?
No. But what was interesting was when I saw Strange Encounter of a Third Kind.
Mm-hmm.
there was a line in it when at the very end when they were, sending our soldiers into the spaceship to go to their planet, and they were sending the one guy that had climbed the mountain and everything, and they were saying you can't send him, and the one guy said we have to. He was invited, and that's how I felt. It was sort of like okay, I was invited to stretch myself into other realms, other things. I never would have gotten into past life stuff or traveling in time or folding time or the fact that there are portals or crop circles or any of the other things that I've become involved in. I never would have stretched into had it not been for that one experience.
Now, after that one experience, over the years, and I mean, you've just absolutely, have done some amazing things. Have you had any impressions on just exactly what it was that you saw that night? And I know that for a lot of people, the whole UFO phenomena really does smack into the unknowable. But have you had any impressions over the years on what that experience was? What the intelligence behind it was?
Well, I've looked at, first of all, science fiction and how our science fiction movies have often prepared us for what reality is coming. Certainly look at Star Trek with the doors that open and shut when we walk up to them, or tricorders and things like that. So that in some ways, our movies and sometimes television are preparing our consciousnesses to be able to accept and flow with things that are coming. And I think that probably UFOs like that we're sort of getting us ready to not be fearful and know that was out there, and that I don't think it was meant to contact anybody or anything like that. Maybe it was out of gas. I don't know, but I think that I don't know that it was manned. Given the chance to go back and experience it again, I certainly would have approached it differently. But it didn't feel like it was manned, but it was large enough to be manned. And I'm just wondering now, with all that's come out since then. They have. There's so much out there about how we had gotten down to UFOs, and we had reverse engineered them and have been doing it for decades and decades and decades. I don't know if it was one of ours, because there were 3 Army bases right around us. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was one of ours, one of Germany's or Japan's, or whoever's. I don't know. I don't know if it was made in Japan or not. It's sort of like it landed and it took off, and we tried to follow it, and it seemed to be streaking towards a brighter light in the sky, and we watched it for a very long time, but then nothing happened. So I don't know if the powers that be are trying to get us used to the fact that there's this kind of technology out there and become comfortable with it. The Nazis certainly were investigating with it. So were we, and if you look at Solar Warden and all of that material, then we already have spaceships out there. So I don't know. It befuddles me, because when you see an unidentified flying object, it could be any number of different things, and it could be aliens or not. Or it could be us. So I got nothing.
Well, and really, I mean, I applaud you for that, because so many people who have become involved with this field feel like that they have to give some kind of definitive explanation. This, the phenomena is this or that. And I think that when people start to do that, then they, kind of lose some credibility, in my opinion.
Well, I'll tell you, if I met a reptilian, I'd be able to tell you they exist. If I'd met a gray, I'd be able to tell you they exist. I know our consciousness, the spirit within us, is able to give us holograms that are phenomenal. And so, I want to more than see one, I want to shake hands. And, if I'm that good that I can holographic something like that, I am really hot stuff. But it's sort of like, I don't want to say something exists if I haven't seen it or touched it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I have a responsibility to give you exactly what I saw. I can tell you what I saw. I'm not sure what I know.
Well, speaking of consciousness, now you have, gosh, I mean, you have done so much, from your Mandela paintings to your I don't want to call them tarot cards. What was the name that you gave them?
They're oracle cards.
Oracle cards, right? When it comes to consciousness, what is it? No.
Okay,
I'm trying to come up with a better way to ask that question.
Okay.
But that's one of the things that right now really seems to divide like philosophy and science. Is the whole idea?
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my opinion, the source of all creation was consciousness, and consciousness created a singularity, and consciousness sent out seeds, and those seeds were a part of its consciousness, and we are those seeds. So we have a connection to the source of creation. And so inside of us, we have a tremendous amount of information and wisdom that is experiencing this lifetime in a physical form. We have a physical body, we have a consciousness, which some people call the soul, and then we have our higher consciousness, that which travels within the physical body. At death, the body and the soul stay here and go to bed. And our consciousness, our higher consciousness, is what moves into the other realms, into the etheric, and then chooses or not chooses to experience physicality again. It takes on another form and rides with that form through whatever the lifetime is for that particular being. Consciousness is awareness. It's where wisdom is. It's not where knowledge is. It's where wisdom is. We give it knowledge when we do things, during our day-to-day activities, but the wisdom that channelers give. See, this is where you tell the difference really between a channel and somebody who's giving a very well-informed opinion. If you are truly reading channeled material, it's giving you philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not giving you absolutes. And when you pray, you're literally praying to yourself and saying, "Give me insight. You've got the answers. Give me the insight." And so you'll get a dream, or you'll get a feeling, or you'll get some indication as to a direction you should go. And those insights and inspirations come directly from the spirit that's within you. It won't tell you what to do, but it will give you a philosophy to apply to the situation for you to make a free will choice. So consciousness is etheric. It has no form. It has no body. It has no eyes, ears, nose, or throat. It is energy, and it's energy with intent, and it has the need to grow. And in my opinion, we aren't here to return to the source. We are here to gather enough material so that at some point in time, we have gathered enough, and I'm talking billions of years, so that we become a consciousness that creates its own universe and sends out seeds. I think our job here is not to return to where we came from, but to go forth and become exactly what we came from.
Be the creator of our own universes.
Yes. Now, that's just my opinion, but that's a good one, and I've been working with that for a long time.
No, I like that. I like that one. So now on your show, you've had a number of what would the term be? Psychics, people who will do readings and make predictions and things like that. In your opinion, I mean, do you think that this is? Do you think this is accurate? Do you think that these people, the majority of the time, are just kind of like guessing? Or do you think that, to a certain extent, the future can be perceived? Or, I mean, we've had people on the show who say that, the universe and time, it's like a block universe, that the past, present, and future exist all at the same time. And the future is the same as the past. It's already been determined, and it can't be changed.
Well, I did psychic readings on my radio show for a long time. And I thought I was helping people for free because if they couldn't afford to go to a psychic, that I would be there. And then I realized, and it took me a long time to realize that, I might add, that I had created a huge following of codependent people who weren't thinking for themselves. So I stopped doing the readings on my radio show. I believe that being psychic is part of your development and evolution. Everybody is psychic to a certain degree. If you work with it, it's like a muscle. You become better. But you become better by understanding and becoming more sensitive to yourself. There are a lot of psychics out there who have, I think, a God complex. And I can honestly say that I don't go for psychic readings at all. Because if I can't figure it out, then, I'm wasting my time here. So I believe that psychics, good psychics who have gone beyond being just a psychic and have become more spiritual and are exploring their own spirituality and their own intuition and their own finding the source within themselves and finding that wonderful bridge between the consciousness and the higher consciousness and become bridge walkers, I call them, because they're able to span the two realities, the physical and the spiritual. I think they're few and far between. And for the most part, people will, whatever a psychic gives you is filtered through their own personal experience. So you're basically getting what they would do in this situation. You're not getting what Spirit wants you to hear. And if, Spirit may want you to hear, this is a time for patience to take stock and to move into, those projects that you haven't finished. This isn't a time for you to try to move into another job. You need, when it's ready, the universe will provide that opportunity because you'll either get fired or you quit and you move on. But if you have a question, you shouldn't do anything. I mean, if you go to a psychic to get information on how to live your life, you're all wrong. If you go to a psychic and you're looking at how do I get more into my spirituality, what are my talents, what are my gifts, what do you see, how can I utilize those to expand where I am so I can take charge of my own life, that's a whole other ball of wax. And so I feel that a lot of people are psychic, becoming sensitive, and they want to make a living at doing this work. And I totally disagree with that. I believe spiritual stuff should be free. You shouldn't have to charge for it. If it's spiritual, it was given to you and you were able to develop it in order to benefit your life. So you have no business charging for that. It was a gift.
All right, Barbara. Well, I'm going to have to interrupt you here because we only have a couple of minutes left in the show. So I want to give you the opportunity to let our audience know where they can find you online and, again, where they can listen to your show.
Absolutely. The website is barbaradelong.com, and on it you'll find links to the radio show, and you'll find links to everything that I've done, and also to the YouTube channel. And all of the radio shows go up onto the YouTube channel, and that's Barbara DeLong as well. I keep it real simple. And, we have lots of great guests coming up, and we're having a lot of fun with doing interviews. Mark Eddy is a part of the show now, and he has his own show on Tuesday nights, and I run the switchboard for him. And we've had a lot of fun even stretching what the show has done by, some of the material and the guests that he's brought onto the show as well. So it's been a lot of fun, and it continues to be fun. And when it stops being fun, I'll stop doing it. But it's been fun for a long time now.
All right. Well, and Tim, what's the name of your newest book coming out?
Oh, it's the Psychic and UFO Revelations in the 21st century, and it's just loaded with material, basically channel material, but prophecies and predictions, and some of which have come true, and some of which the aliens just missed. I don't know, way off. I mean, there's a little bit of both. I mean, we didn't censor it to that degree, and it is also a tribute to I think the early UFO contactee movement. And don't forget our YouTube channel, Mr. UFO's Secret Files. We've got over 400 interviews up there. And Tim, thanks for being with us again tonight, and Tina and Peter and Helen and Carol and all our listeners out there in radio and online.
You've been listening to Exploring the Bizarre with hosts Timothy Beckley and Tim Swartz. They're taking back the night by jetting non-stop across the cosmos in search of the truly bizarre and totally unexplained, with you as their co-pilot. Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on Exploring the Bizarre and hosts Timothy Beckley and Tim Swartz, check out their KCOR Digital Radio Network page. Follow their YouTube channel at MRUFO 1100. Exploring the Bizarre.